Hi there, my name is Sean Purcell and I am the P3 tutor to help you pass your P3 exam. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself and my ability to teach P3. Essentially, I'm one of the few people that actually lectures P3 anywhere, both in the UK and overseas, who actually marks the papers. Personally, I mark it not because I like marking, but so they can understand and empathise with the mistakes students make. And ever since P3 has been an exam, I have marked every single exam and probably have marked over 8,000 P3 scripts. So I have a lot of experience of understanding why students make mistakes. I also have sat on many of the ACCA exam boards where people give feedback to the examiner on what they felt was good or bad about an exam. So I've got lots of experience of what other tuition providers believe to be problems with P3. In addition to that, I also work for the ACCA and have worked in the past helping with countries where the P3 pass rate is quite low to engage in a train the trainer program, where we get involved with local professors and tuition providers and maybe give them some tips on how they can improve pass rates on P3. And I'm proud to say that the places and countries I've been involved with, I no longer go anymore because their pass rates have improved so much. So if you do a P3 course with me, I've marked every exam. I know the inside out of what you're going to get on your paper, and if you do what I say, it's pretty impossible to fail. In terms of why people do fail P3, if you don't have the opportunity to do a course with me, the key things that people fail P3 for, I would suggest, are as a result of poor timing, as a result of poor layout, and poor presentation, not reading the question, and poor question selection. So it's very, very important, if you are a student taking P3, to make sure that before you actually go into the exam room, you have some experience of dealing with what P3 presents, which is quite a long scenario, which requires quite a lot of reading and interpretation, and then you need to articulate an argument in business English. If you're getting involved in that kind of activity for the very first time in an exam, you're going to make mistakes which you don't need to make. You make those mistakes before you actually take the exam, and maybe try to get on a course where you have an opportunity to actually practice some papers to time and get them marked. If you don't have that, maybe do some work with friends, because it's really important that you experience the test of time that P3 also presents. In terms of layout and presentation and reading the question, well, part of that is product of stress, which is a natural thing that will occur in exams. And I have a few tips that I would recommend that you apply to minimise such mistakes. Main one is people tend to get tunnel vision in exams and answer the question they think is asked. The way around that would be to read it once, read it twice, and then step back, do a brainstorm and a plan, do a marked focus, and then just before you jump in, check whether that plan answers the question asked. Because you read it in a bit of a panic, you sometimes miss half the question out. I certainly see a lot of that as a marker, where students are obviously very, very capable and could have given a really good answer, but tragically only give half an answer. So the response people say to me, "Oh, I haven't got time to read it a third time." Well, I think if you don't make that time, you run the risk of only answering half the exam. So poor timing, poor layout, not reading the question, and poor question selection. Sometimes people choose a section B question, which they think is easy, but when you actually look at the mark allocation, it's more difficult than it looks. So it's very important to look at all three section B questions and make sure you minimise the odds so you can answer those questions in the mark maximising way. What's important for you in your preparation for P3, I'd suggest, is to not learn theory, but understand the theory so you can apply it. It's very important for you to be able to get a link between the strategic analysis, the strategic choice, and the strategic implementation. rather than me talk about this on a video to you, if you put my name into the ACCA global website, Sean Purcell, you'll see that the two main articles on what the paper is about are up there and written by me. They're the Strategic Planning Process Part 1 and the Strategic Planning Process Part 2. And there's lots of other people from other colleges who have lifted them off the site and have added bits to them. But you'll see they simplify things and represent pretty much how I would teach the subject. If you also go onto the website, you'll see that it's not just for P3, it's for the whole of the professional level, and it's how to pass the exam from a marker's perspective. Put that into Google and the article will come up as the main article, how to pass the exam from a marker's perspective. And as a result of my frustration of students maybe not doing as well as they could in exam papers, I actually wrote that article live. So I was writing it as I was marking papers. I thought that was probably the best way to represent mistakes students made, and I put it down on paper, so hopefully future students can learn that if you do this, you're likely to make errors that really you don't need to make. So if you can attend courses, I'd love to see you. If you can't, well, hopefully some of the advice I've given to you is going to be useful. Read those articles, Strategic Planning Process Part 1, Strategic Planning Process Part 2, get an understanding, get a holistic view of P3. Having got that, then make sure that you, with the knowledge, look at the article on how to pass the exam from a marker's perspective. And if you follow that advice and have practiced some exams to time, you're going to be a very successful P3 student. Thank you very much for listening, and I wish you all the very best.